a gathering of questions from all over the globe, so let's just get to it. The very first question is that this person has a rotting tooth. And they wondered if the infection came from inside of the body or from the root of the tooth itself. I'm sad to say that probably the root of the tooth itself is where the infection generated. Most of us have diets that have too much sugar in it, which impels the body to allow bacteria to grow and to culture itself. Not only bacteria, but other bugs that you don't really want. And when you have too much of that and don't do adequate amounts of flossing, use proper dental hygiene with products that kill the bacteria, which is very hard to find. Most of those products you hear about, even the health ones, do not kill the bacteria and the spiral key. You're probably going to end up at times with this. Now the remedy, of course, by the mainstream dentist is let's give a root canal. Now, next to putting heavy metal mercuries in the mouth, which pretty swift idea if you want to be sick, the second worst thing, maybe even in some cases, the first worst thing is to get a root canal. Now let's hope in your case, this particular tooth is wedged between two other teeth. Because my good remedy for this, and the only one that truly works, is remove the tooth and put a bridge in. Go to an alternative type dentist who knows what she or he is doing. And that's what we've been telling people successfully for years. Because if you put a root canal in, that's when you can have a systemic infection. Because the bacteria, the inflammation that caused you to have the need for a root canal still remains. And they pack it in. So it's not now going to ooze out. It's going to go back into the body itself and weaken the overall immune system. We have a question about Graves' disease. Of course, over the decades, we've had massive experience with Graves' disease. You may want to pick up Hippocrates, volume number 31, issue 1 magazine. Volume 31, issue 1 magazine. There's a story about a young lady who reversed Graves' disease. She was so afflicted by it that she had to actually leave work. Happy to say that she recovered, went back to work, and feels better than she ever has. You may also understand that the raw diet is part of it, but the use of proper supplementation is also very important. Here's something dear to my knee. Several years ago, when I happened to be on a lecture tour in Europe, I thought I'd slip away one day and go skiing in the Alps. Boy, oh boy. Little did I know that Switzerland didn't have lawyers, so they didn't mark the trails well. In America, every 2 inches they marked the trail because they were afraid of being sued. So here I was, this casual, moderate skier at best, going down a hill, and I end up on an ice terrain. That was a cliff. They call that for triple X skiers. My God, I'm a minus X skier. And don't you know, my ski happened to fall off, and I did a tumble that could have been filmed and put in a Hollywood production. Thank God I had my helmet on. It was cracked in the back, and I was knocked out. I hear a voice. Of course, it has an English accent, so I immediately assumed it was an angel. Here in the United States, every time you hear an English accent, it's angelic. Are you okay? Are you okay? When I awakened, this beautiful maiden was standing there, hanging off the side of the cliff, saying to me, "It's good to see you're alive. I'll send down the X's." And the X's came down, again with their deep French accent, and said to me, "We cannot go down in the sleigh. If we go in the sleigh, you die and I die. We must bring the helicopter." Well, anyway, when they took me into the air and I was spinning on a rope, screaming at the top of my lungs, which made the fall looked like it was nothing after that. Maybe that was a cure of the fall. And I arrived at the local hospital. They said, "You have a torn meniscus. You must need surgery." Guess what? I never had surgery, but I used magnet therapy and good nutrition. Again, consistent aerobic exercise, done properly, not bouncing up and down in my running shoes on the sidewalk outside, but on elliptical machines, etc. And now I can say to you, years later, I don't even feel the meniscus. Now this does not mean that every meniscus will heal as mine did. Mine was torn moderately. And there are some that need microscopic sport surgery. But the vast majority with light tears or moderate tears with proper diet, proper movement, and also the use of targeted supplementation, things like silica, things like MSM, things like magnesium, things like strontium. All of this helps to rebuild tissue mass. Somebody's asking about the LifeWave glutathione patch because it has nanotechnology. Now, unfortunately, the word nano is being thrown around where it ought not to be. The kind of nanotechnologies we're really not interested in employing today are chemically based man-made elements, not proteins like glutathione. These proteins, be it minute or larger, can only be health-building, not health-destroying. Our concern is with no regulation and nobody watching on the other nanos that are made in laboratories, they may log inside of the body and act as festering infections as time goes on. Needless to say, we'll see as time passes. But with the glutathione patch from LifeWave, knock yourself out. Really good thing. If anything, we want small amounts to get in there to empower the cells and the immunity to function at their highest level. Hello to the Montanez family. We'll start with the most egregious problem that you bring in this question. What about my husband who succumbed to the H1 virus shot? You don't know how many hundreds of stories have hit me about this. People are not quite the same after this. It was a rush to profit. A rush to profit is what the H1N1 virus was. And what happened, thank goodness, is many of you did not buy into it. But unfortunately, you did. This was a vaccine put together in a matter of weeks in China, when at best it takes months and years to establish a good vaccine. You, unfortunately, have been a guinea pig. Now, not knowing exactly what the cause is of your problem, as with the hundreds of others who have reported the same to me, we can say that by changing your diet to a proper diet, taking the good supplementation, and also exercising and remaining positive, you're going to be able to resist whatever is happening to you much better than if not. You also say in the early stages of adapting the raw living food diet, it makes you feel a little sick. Well, of course. If you knew the amount of chemistry and heavy metals that are in most people's bodies today, I'm surprised we don't feel much sicker. As a young man, I was only in my early 20s when I made this transformation. And I remember many a day sitting on a couch with a high fever and wanting to upchuck. All of the waste that we collect over decades have to release, and slowly but surely it will. And believe me, this short-term pain will resolve itself in rapid order. The other thing you must understand that the use of fruits and vegetables may be nice and good, certainly the organic and fresh varieties, but most important when you're adapting a vegan diet is to get a wide variety of good sprouts that have, again, up to 30 times more nutrition than the best organic vegetable that you harvest, wash, and eat. They also are filled with proteins. The other thing that one's going to need is a lot of protein to regulate your blood sugar. Otherwise, you're going to feel hungry all the time. You're really not hungry. You're finally being nourished if you're eating a raw diet properly. But what is happening is your blood sugar is wavering because what you used to do is eat a lot of cooked carbohydrates that break down to sugar, and on top of that, eat sugar. And the so-called non-sugars, like the bad ones, agave syrup, honey, etc. Bottom line is, by eating high levels of protein and taking supplements like algae with high levels of protein, especially with the algae, you're going to detoxify as well as give yourself this protein to regulate the blood sugar. Keep moving forward and diligently read my both books, Life Force and Living Food for Optimum Health. It really portrays what we've learned here over the last half a century.